All right, let's move on to 11B. We're missing a few people, though. Let me see where they are. All right, let's go. Let's read 11B, and Yolanda will be here in a minute, hopefully.
An ordinance creating a new Part 13 temporary sales tax credit in designated geographic areas with public improvement fees of Article 7, Sales and Use Tax of Chapter 2, Business Licensing, Liquor Regulation, and Taxation of the Code of the City of Colorado Springs 2001 is amended, providing for the temporary reduction of city sales tax within certain designated geographic areas for the purpose of funding public improvement and supporting economic development through public improvement fees.
Okay, Bob. Bob made a lengthy presentation yesterday. Does anybody want to go over that again? Bill, you had a...
Well, before you go over it again, Mr. Cope, are you able to get me the information I requested yesterday?
And could you be more specific?
I'm sorry?
He wanted...
be more specific on the information you requested yesterday?
Statistics about the
actual
30,
data.
40 to 50%.
From the 40 to 50%?
Oh, I can address that today.
No. I asked for the information. You said you got it from them, and I said, okay, how about passing it on to us? And the Johnstown documentation. Actually, there are a number of us, I think, who requested that information, and because we haven't received it, I'm going to request that this motion be tabled.
I am prepared to address both of those issues today.
Let him address it, Bill.
But Mr. President, I need to provide a caveat. As legal jurisdictions go through their sales and use tax collection process, it's determined whether or not it's home rule or if it's state collections. Regardless of who is collecting those dollars, that information is proprietary. And so as the city collects sales tax for entities across the city, we are not allowed to disclose what those specific sales tax dollars are. For example, we cannot disclose what Walmart is collecting, or we cannot disclose what Dillard's is collecting. And so that is proprietary information. What we can do, and what we do report, is what our aggregate collections are based upon our sales tax. And we're able to identify, the different components of sales tax as it's collected. Like if you're looking at retail, if you're looking at restaurants, you're looking at hotels. But we cannot specifically give out sales tax information as it relates to a specific entity.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
that is not even what I asked for.
But I was just Mr. Murray, I was just providing clarification to the council.
Let's let Bob talk and then we'll see what he says.
And let's let Bob respond, Bill, first, and then see if you need more information.
And thank you, and good afternoon, Honorable City Council. Yesterday I had the privilege of presenting on really an exciting opportunity for the city yesterday, and it was a full presentation and work session, so I don't plan to go through that again today. However, prepared to answer any and all questions. I did want to hit just some of the highlights from the presentation, partly just to clarify based on some of the discussion that I've heard, to clarify some of those points. So, first and foremost, as you saw, this is really a unique and extraordinary opportunity for the citizens of Colorado Springs. This is a retail venue unlike any other in the trade area, and it's really going to be a unique experience and really a quality of life issue for our citizens. My presentation yesterday indicated that it will produce 545 new permanent jobs, contribute $1.5 billion to the economy over 25 years, $60 million annually. And a big point is an estimated $53 million in net new revenue to the city over 25 years. And that is after the $16 million estimated value of the public improvement fee that we were discussing. So that's after. So again, to be able to provide core city services, it will provide more revenue to do so, not less revenue to do so. This project also significantly stems any sales tax leakage out of our community. It should stop a lot of people from driving to Castle Rock, Park Meadows, and venues such as that. And it will also attract a huge sales tax surplus, which means that we have people out of the trade area that will be shopping in Colorado Springs that wouldn't have been before. What we are proposing is really a two-part strategy that together make up a mechanism called a credit PIF. The first component is the ordinance, which will be considered today and hopefully approved today, that gives City Council the ability to provide a temporary sales tax reduction in a specific area. In this case, it would be on the Scheels parcel, but in the future, Council would have the opportunity to use that tool in other areas for other projects. The second part will be a specific credit PIF agreement between the city and Scheels, which will be presented formally. It's in your packet. Will be presented formally in 2 weeks for Council to consider. So that would be the process. But today, the ordinance is what we're looking at.
Okay. And Bob, is there any documentation on the 40 to 50% sales from outside the area that they often experience?
So based on the questions yesterday evening and a couple of email exchanges today, we have already received a letter from the Scheels CFO that basically states, based on their own internal studies that they've done, that those indicate that actually 40 to 60% of their customers are outside of the municipalities in their other locations. So that's what we've already received in the short few hours that this was requested, and we can certainly provide that. Beyond that, if more information is needed, then it'll just be a matter of communicating with Scheels and to see what is appropriate additional background information to be shared. I think the point is here, though, is that this retail venue is certainly a regional draw and certainly has the potential to attract shoppers from outside the trade area. Okay. This venue is planned to serve all of southern Colorado with their other store serving northern Colorado. So I think that's the main point. And the 40 to 50% of my presentation is actually a little more conservative to what they say their internal analysis is indicating. We do have a copy of the Jonestown Agreement, and we can certainly provide that as well.
Okay, Jill?
Thank you for that. I would like to see that letter, Bob, and I appreciate you guys reaching out to them. I mean, what makes this whole plan so unique and I mean a great opportunity for our city is the idea that we will have so many people coming into the city to shop here and that we won't be cannibalizing from our current sporting goods stores. So I mean any data that we can get, and I think when I sent my email I said something about looking at other Colorado cities. There's just that one, and after thinking about it and talking to you and Jeff, it really isn't a comparable city, and I think we were talking in Budget Committee this morning about Reno specifically being a similar type city. I really would like to see data on a similar type city that has kind of suburban other communities around it, kind of like we do, and regional places that would come to them. I mean, is it Jonestown? Johnstown is such a small community that, of course, most people would come into the city to purchase, but we already have a lot of sporting goods stores here, just like Reno does and other similar cities that are in the mountain region. So I guess I would like more data. I'm happy to move forward today, knowing we'll do the biggest work in 2 weeks, but I think council really needs more backup.
Okay, and we'll make that request for additional data, and it will just depend on really how they conduct their analysis, if they do it store by store, just what they have, and then what's appropriate to share. So we'll be working on that between now and when you vote.
And I do understand there's confidentiality about the revenues, so I'm okay with it.
Correct.
Bill?
Well, I can understand some parts are confidential, but you're asking us to believe data you said was given to you without seeing the data. Okay, looking at Johnstown, it doesn't appear that the data is relevant to our peculiar situation. But let's talk about the whole Scheels concept. Do they rent space to individual vendors?
I'm sorry, did they go straight to what?
No, I don't think they do. They run all of their operation themselves, and they don't rent to outside vendors.
That's not what I was
Yes,
told.
yes. They operate their own stores.
I mean, when we were there, we even saw the fudge shop. I mean, they did everything in-house.
Okay, no, they do everything in-house. So you understand what we're talking about. Do they rent these spaces inside Scheels to vendors?
No, it's my understanding they operate all of the retail operations.
Okay, I believe it's actually a mini mall that individual contractors run each one of the stalls.
No, then that was,
I need some documentation then, because I'm getting three different viewpoints here, 40 to 50% regional, and I don't see that in our neck of the woods. Okay, I don't see the Johnstown agreement with them that indicates I gave them a sizable tax incentive to live up there. Okay, again, there's a lot of documentation I had asked for that is not proprietary. Should be open source available that I wasn't given. And I asked the council to table this motion until this information is made available so we can make an informed decision.
So
Is
today,
that too hard?
Yeah, so today the ordinance, which is not specific to Scheels, you're being asked to consider that on first reading.
And that's the second thing, is that we need more time in the budget committee to sit down and understand how the ramifications of credit PIFs, okay, how they're going to be used in the future. This is a generic tool that we need more evidence to suggest its viability and how it really affects the community. So I'm asking it to be tabled.
Mr. President,
yes.
the administration is requesting for the council to approve this ordinance today. The specific Scheels agreement comes before this council in 2 weeks. That gives us time to answer any specific questions. If council feels like that staff is not satisfied those requests, then you can go through your consideration process and make a determination at that point in time.
Okay. So noted. David?
Just a few follow-up questions. You can give me the history of this, Bob, that...
In the mic, please.
Yes, I will. I'm sorry. And the sign says right here, speak into the mic, please.
It's probably not for you.
I think it's definitely for me. Can you talk a little bit about your understanding of the history of Scheels coming into Colorado? How long ago did the Johnstown store open?
Okay, so when we first heard about Scheels, we did a lot of research into them, and I looked at the Johnstown agreement and all of those things. So it's my recollection that they probably began negotiations. I'm going to be close here, probably in maybe 2014 and 15, and maybe opened in 16, 17.
So their Scheels presence in Colorado is relatively new. And it's your understanding that as a company they wanted one on the north side of Colorado, one on the south side.
That is my understanding, yes.
And there were other municipalities in the southern part of Colorado that they were looking at that Colorado Springs was in competition with.
Yes, that's my understanding as well.
Okay. Then the next question is Tom available? I want to follow up. I'm still, Tom Florzak back there. Yes, this is for you.
You didn't think you'd have to get up.
I addressed this concern the last time when this was coming up. I'm still a little uncomfortable. Can you talk about how, subject to both the state and Colorado Springs Tabor, we can have a temporary reduction in sales tax without having to go back to the voters to rescind that?
Okay. Council members, Tom Florzak, Deputy City Attorney. Under Tabor, and there's been quite a number of court decisions that have interpreted it, temporary tax reductions or tax credits have been allowed. And so that is specifically designed so you can bounce it back up after the temporary credit
without having to go
expires.
back to the...
And that has been done by many cities and counties, specifically with their mill levies. It's authorized, I mean, likewise for sales taxes.
So you're comfortable that with this resolution, if it was to pass and we were to extend this sort of agreement to anybody, that we'd be able, at the conclusion of the term of the agreement, to reinstate the tax at the normal rate without going back to the electors?
I do. I'm comfortable with that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Andy?
Well, I mentioned my concerns yesterday. I'll just elaborate slightly on that today. You've talked about the fact that it's going to be 40 to 50% outside of the local area, but that kind of implies that half of them is going to come from within. And I'm concerned that some percentage of that is going to be cannibalized from our existing things. My concern is that we're putting these guys on an unfair competitive advantage because it's a one-up. And so I'm kind of concerned with the way that this is structured and whether this is an appropriate thing. We've done other types of projects that use different mechanisms. You know, I know the airport has a commercial aeronautical zone. I think it was pointed out that Don and Andy's hot dog stand, you know, would be subject to that on there, but only if it was an aircraft servicing stand. And if that was the case, it would compete on an equal basis with something else in the same zone. So Puma and Yolanda's taco aircraft servicing stand would compete equally. And that's my concern, is we're going to give one to here, and next door, they don't get that. And that's why I'm going to kind of hold off on this.
Don?
I want to respond to several, and I'll just take them in reverse order. The only reason I'm supportive of this is it's not going to be a one-off. It'll be open to anybody and everybody but it starts today. I mean, everything has to have a beginning. Nor is this the only economic development item in our toolbox where we grant tax relief to companies. And, you know, we're doing that by, you know, if you take a look at, we allowed a URA to the Marriott. We did not establish a URA for the HGI, the Hilton Garden Inn. The Marriott, the HGI could have applied for that. Their business case, they decided not to. Who knows why? As long as this is open to everybody, and I think I've been consistent on this. You know, I don't like stuff being given to downtown if it's not open to old Colorado City or the Northwest, Southwest, Southeast, and the Southeast. And so, you know, this is, to me, yeah, it is a tool that the folks that are already in town did not have at their advantage, but it's going to be the folks that are in town after this that'll be there. We do have to go in and tighten up those caveats a little bit more, because right now it's going to be hard to say no to the next person if somebody knocks on the door tomorrow morning. In reference to the one, the Sparks or the Scheels in Reno, I mean, I've been to that one several times. It's in Sparks. It's not in Reno. So everybody in Reno comes to Sparks, or you know, they pay the Sparks sales tax. And what I don't want to see is everybody going to Monument to go to Scheels and do that. But you also got and I think this is prevalent with a lot of locations that they're in. They're one major metropolitan area, major area surrounded by a lot of small cities. You know, so folks from Truckee, folks from Fallon, folks from Carson are all going to go up to Reno. My daughter and son-in-law were at Fallon, 60 miles. I mean, we went into Reno for Costco. It's also then stopped at Sparks, though. But, you know, you're going in for your Costco run or your Sam's run or whatever. It's not gambling when you don't win. So, when you never win, you know. But
It's called stealing.
you know, this is really an issue of bringing in the tax money here. I think Bill had a very good point. When we were in there on the tour, we were told that each of the little shops are independently operated, but I think that's immaterial. It's not a mall. I mean, you go to the one at Johnstown and the one in Sparks are very, very similar. So it's not open to any and all vendors, but I think it's operated that you know, I don't know quite what the business model is, but I think there is something independent about the person that runs the clothing section there, the sports clothing is something, but I don't think it's material to there. I will say though that this is a fast-moving train. It's a fast-moving train for a reason, but we want to keep open the transparency as well. Getting a few emails already on it, both pros and cons. The public only heard about this yesterday, and we're voting on it today. Fortunately, this is the first reading. I will support it today for a first reading, but I do like to honor council members' requests that they get the information they need. So hopefully we can get that information to the other council members, because on the second reading, but procedure-wise, what was in our packet today, if I remember right, and I might be wrong, we only had the ordinance. We didn't have the agreement that was in yesterday's packet. Is that correct? You know, why couldn't we had the agreement briefed to us at the work session also, so that the public could see it and give them the 2 weeks to reach out to their council representatives to let them know what they think? Because it sounds like this is going to be another back-to-back in 2 weeks, or are we even going to get the agreement at the work session in 2 weeks?
So sure.
Excuse me, Councilman Knight, maybe your copy didn't have it, but a draft of the agreement was included in the packets for yesterday, as well as the resolution. There were some little minor tweaks to that made for the final one, but those were enclosed.
The ordinance was in there, but the agreement itself, and the ordinance talked a lot about Scheels, so okay. So they were both agreement?
The resolution may not have been, but the agreement was.
All right. Then,
with the ordinance.
The agreement, that's part of the ordinance. Well, the ordinance was in the packet, but the specific agreement, because the ordinance says we can offer up to 1%.
Right. The ordinance is of general applicability, but accompanying it, because it's not being presented in the abstract.
My bad. Ed Sarah says it's in there, so I apologize. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Bill?
Well, it looks like a mall. It operates as a mall, okay? It is a mini mall in all its concepts. We abandoned Citadel, which had more paying jobs at one point in time. We abandoned Chapel Hills, which, you know, and we're building another one up here. And each one of those small businesses and each one of those malls, the vendors there, you know, put their sweat and tears and their tax money, okay, into each one of those stalls in those malls are now going to lose business because these guys are 3 miles away and we incentivized a retail shop. Okay, this isn't for public infrastructure. Okay, this is directly to the company itself. And I don't care who you are, the point being is you need to pay the same taxes as everybody else if you want to come here and live here and take money out of here. And that's, I think the people should be really upset when they really realize what you've done. You know, you've incentivized somebody to go north. And I go into Chapel Hills and say, hey, guess what, guys? We built a better place right up north because it's got a Ferris wheel in it. Now, if I have them put a Ferris wheel in Chapel Hills, will we incentivize that? I don't think so. And that's why I'm so worried about this particular facility. Plus, this is precedent setting. You're setting, we won't even see what this deal is for 2 more weeks, but you're asking us to set a precedent right now and aspirations of other people to come in here and ask the exact same thing, which I don't think is even in the best interest of the city. We really don't have enough information to make the most informed decision on a precedent-setting issue like this is. Please table it.
Okay, and
Jeff, did you want to comment on that particular?
I do want to comment.
Yolanda's next.
The Scheels store is not a mall. It is totally the organization is owned by its employees. And each of the components within the store has independent managers, but it's all part of the overall Scheels Corporation. And so they have a Patagonia section, they have a gun section, they have a bow and arrow section, they have a golf section, they have men's and women's clothing, they have men's and women's shoes, they have a home goods section. But, I mean, it's all part of the overall store corporation, so it's not independent stores within this facility. It's all part of the Scheels store.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, you're right. And that was what I understood when I did my tour too. Yolanda.
Okay, so I'm just understanding today we're going to vote on the credit, right? The ordinance for the credit.
Yeah, we can then offer it.
Okay, and but that's not like the 1% that's been suggested in the 25 years. That's not built in stone. That's still negotiable.
That is not negotiable at this point in time.
That's not negotiable at all. The 1% and the 25 years that
it is not.
Okay.
But that agreement, that specific agreement will come to you in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So we're not voting on that today. We're just voting on the ability to allow that to happen.
Right. That's why I'm just getting that clarified from the experts up there. So I think this is a great project and something to invest in. I would like it to be negotiable and to see what we could do. The reason is I don't see it like a mall at all. I think of the kids that work at Orange Julius. They don't own any part of that company. And what I like about this is that it is employee owned and they have great benefits. And I like having that it's a regional destination and that people from all over will come. I did post this I did the tour, I think a couple weeks ago, and I posted it on my Facebook page, and I got so many thumbs up and hearts, and the feedback I got was that they loved that it was employee-owned as well. I just got an email, though, from a constituent that lives in my district who wondered why it wasn't in Southeast. And, yeah. But I am very concerned for my district, and I'm always fighting for it. But I think that this works for all of Colorado Springs, and ultimately I am in favor of what is going to support our entire city. So I don't see it as a mall. I see it as an employee-owned venture. It has its own unique model, which I think is really great. So I just wanted to find out about the ordinance today and if that was in stone about the 1% and the 25 years, which I will have to think about hard next time around. Thank you.
Okay, David?
Yeah, before I was on city council, my wife and kids would like to go to Park Hill or Park Meadows,
yeah.
the Park Meadows Mall, go to the outlet shops at Castle Rock. It hasn't happened since I've been on city, council, totally.
So you say.
But the fact of the matter is, one way or the other, this company is going to build this facility somewhere in our area.
Right.
And the question is whether we are going to incentivize it being in Colorado Springs or being outside of Colorado Springs. I like the control of having it in Colorado Springs. I like the fact that people like me are going to be able to go to Colorado Springs and spend our money in Colorado Springs as opposed to Castle Rock, as opposed to Monument. And that's what I think the bottom line comes down is we don't have control to say you can't build it here, so you can't build it anywhere near here.
No.
They're going to build it either here or somewhere near here. It's best that it be built here. And then just to follow up a little bit on what Don said, Bob, you and I talked before you came in. We are concerned about existing businesses as well. Are there options for existing businesses to approach the city if they wanted to expand, if they wanted to do something along these lines?
Yes, there are. And we've done that frequently for primary employers, manufacturers, those types that aren't really competing locally. Relias Medical was a good example recently that we have done that. But that's a different type of company, a different type of incentive. For a retailer or a hospitality opportunity such as this, City Council would have the authority, if they chose, to incentivize an existing retailer, existing hotel. Typically, I'm looking at something like that. The way that would work is there would be some type of significant investment, new investment, that store or hotel would be making, and then one logical approach would then be to set the base at their current sales level, so we're not eroding the sales tax base. But then they make their investment, they increase their sales, create an increment, and then some portion of that could be shared back. So that would be council's discretion. But yes, we could do that. And we are very concerned about our existing businesses in Colorado Springs, and we'll continue to use each and every tool that we have to support them.
Thank you.
Okay. Bill?
Well, where do we go out of the area to buy a product? Very specifically because it's unique and we can't find it here, and there's a specific product we're looking for. There's nothing unique except the Ferris wheel or whatever eccentric stuff. Everything else right now can be found within the city limits of Colorado Springs. So this is cannibalizing what we already sell and get tax dollars on, very specifically. It's fancier, it's newer, it's prettier. Got you covered, guys. But it doesn't even need this incentivization to come into an area that has the demographics to make them incredibly profitable. This just adds to the profit and not to the benefit of what we need to run our city.
Yolanda?
Bottom line is because they wouldn't come, but it's not about actually the products. It's about creating an experience. And they're creating an experience that people want to enjoy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to make sure people from the audience had a time to comment. I think we've talked about it pretty well up here at the dais. Anybody who would like to speak on this, come on up and state your name for the record. And anybody else like to talk about this? Come on up. Yeah.
My name is Dale Beggs. I didn't come here to speak on this, but since I can, my question would be, how is this any different than Bass Pro Shop? And if you're going to give Scheels an incentive, my understanding is that Bass Pro Shop was refused an incentive.
No, it's not.
No, they're here. Bob, do you want to respond to that? Did they ever ask?
Yeah, well, a couple things. First, there are some significant differences between Scheels and Bass Pro. One is that Bass Pro Shops really caters to all the outdoor sports. which Scheels does as well. But they don't cater to any of the team sports. So there's no golf, football, hockey, those kinds of things at Bass Pro. And at Scheels, they do cater to the team sport. So they are different. You know, Bass Pro does a great job nationally. They have a huge following, and I'm confident that they will continue to have a huge following. As Scheels, it will build their own following for their own type of shopper. So they are different. The other thing I'd point out is, and we can talk about this more in 2 weeks, but if you take a look at Colorado Springs and what's happened with retail sales, we are adding population on a regular basis. We're projected to add population on a regular basis. Matter of fact, to be the fastest growing county in the state, the largest city in the state. We are one of the fastest growing, or maybe the fastest growing job creator in the country right now. So we're going to be adding jobs, and we're also now finally increasing our incomes. All of those things add to increased retail sales. Past history would show that we are increasing our retail sales at a very healthy pace, and we totally expect to do that in the future. If we don't, I mean, that's going to be a concern in itself, and it's not going to be whether or not Scheels is here or not. It's whether or not we're keeping pace with the economy and jobs and population growth and generating more tax revenue, not whether or not Scheels is here. And the second question, was it about what Bass Pro had requested?
Were they offered the same advantages, urban renewal, anything like that?
So,
I don't know if they were.
So when I first came to the city, Copper Ridge was my first project that was given to us. It was the administration's top economic development priority at the time. And really the way that evolved is that tax increment, both sales and property tax, was needed to build Powers Boulevard because CDOT wasn't going to do that anytime in the near future. So it just evolved that urban renewal plan specifically required all of the tax increment to go to the construction of Powers. Yeah. I don't remember any conversation about incentivizing. Matter of fact, Bass Pro wasn't identified at the time the urban renewal area was created. There was talk about wooing a Cabela's, and there was a chance of doing that, but Bass Pro came later. So that wasn't part of the conversation. It just emerged that it was to build Powers Boulevard, and that urban renewal plan was drafted very specifically to that.
Okay. Jeff?
I just want to elaborate, and I wasn't even aware of this till yesterday, and I was given the example. My dear father passed away 2 years ago, was a big Cabela's shopper, and he would drive, a couple hundred miles just to go to Cabela's and shop. And, Cabela's has very specific followings. Bass Pro has very specific followings. Now, Bass Pro has acquired Cabela's, and so it's a major corporation. And, it provides very specific benefits. It has a very specific customer following. It caters and customizes certain benefits to their customers. Scheels does the same thing. Scheels is a very unique experience. And so once you have experienced the atmosphere of Scheels, you see that it's employee-owned and there's employee benefits. It's one of the highest retail paid jobs, it will be in the region. When you look at northern Colorado, there's a huge difference there. And so that's why the importance is. And we are very sensitive to how we're looking at it. And like I said yesterday, this is not about picking winners and losers. This is about ensuring the financial security, the financial viability for this city going forward. And unlike our sister jurisdiction, the county receives huge revenue associated with its property taxes. We receive very little. So we are a very consumer-based entity. So protecting our sales tax base and promoting and expanding our sales tax base is very important.
Okay. And Bill, I'll let you see one more time.
The average salary for a cashier at Scheels is $8.70 an hour. That's published. Okay. That's a cashier's fee. And also, if you look at the structure of how the employees own the firm, okay, you need to present that to everybody so somebody can see how our fellow citizens who work there will help own this particular place, how long it takes, what positions they need to be in. Because it takes a while. You don't just walk in and become part of that structure. But $8.70 is what's published online.
Average
Cashier.
Average salary is $46,250.
How much
which
is that an hour?
$23 an hour, yeah. That's
Right.
about $23 an hour.
It doesn't match the numbers that are posted.
Well, that again, this is average, but that is a huge average retail wage in the industry. In the industry. And
All right. I think we've talked about this enough. So I'm going to call for a vote.
You need to call
Bill,
for a motion.
I'm sorry, a motion from Merv. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't Bill make a motion?
I'm sorry. Bill, did you want to make a motion to the table? Okay. Well, that gets precedent.
Stop the conversation early on until I got more.
Okay.
He
Okay.
said he wasn't available. He said, well, just trust me from what I'm giving you now.
Okay.
I'm saying I've got a lot of conflicting data.
All right. So Bill, you're making a motion to table this. Is there a second? Well, that dies with a lack of a second. So I have a motion to accept. Merv?
Yeah, I do want to make a motion. Having visited the site, it is not a mall, and it's very impressive, and I do not want to lose this for our city. With that in mind, I move to adopt an ordinance creating a new Part 13 temporary sales tax credit in designated geographic areas with public improvement fees of Article 7, Sales and Use Tax, of Chapter 2, Business Licensing, Liquor Regulation, and Taxation of the Code of the City of Colorado Springs, 2001, as amended, providing for the temporary reduction of city sales tax within certain designated geographic areas for the purpose of funding public improvements and supporting economic development through public improvement fees.
And Tom, would you like to second that?
Yes, second the motion.
Okay. All right. Please vote. Everybody vote?
Yolanda.
Yolanda? Yeah? Okay. All right. So that passes on a 7-2 vote with council members Murray and Pico opposed.